Well, welcome to our Friday Independent Living Skills session. My name is Catherine. I'm with the Lehigh Valley Center for Independent Living. Quick visual description for those who need that. I am a white female in my mid-30s, black hair that I'm wearing down today, and I have a black t-shirt on. It does have some green and white lettering. You may see that pop in and out of the screen. And I'm coming to you from our office here in Center City, Allentown. And we'd like to welcome Jen and thank her for being with us. Jen is from the Disability Rights PA and is facilitating our webinar today. But before we kick that off, just a few logistics. We are recording today's session. That recording is available on YouTube in the coming week. We have captions are turned on today, so you have that for your needs. Chat is open for questions throughout the presentation. I'll monitor that and help with any technical questions I can, and any questions for Jen I will highlight as we have time. Quick biography about Jennifer. She leads the work for DRP on emerging policy issues on a statewide and federal basis. The policy work is a cross-disability and cross systems with a focus on ensuring that people with disabilities access to home and community-based services. Previously, Jennifer was the project director for the protection and advocacy of beneficiaries of the Social Security Project, addressing both individual and systemic barriers to employment for people with disabilities and the duties of employers under the ADA. Jennifer received her JD, from Widener University School of Law and her BA from Pennsylvania State University. So I'd like to again welcome Jennifer, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint. There we go.
That's better. Yep.
So we're here to talk about voting. Today, we are a few weeks away at this point from Election Day. So we're going to talk about voting registration, how to cast the ballot, both by mail and in person, barriers that people encounter when they're trying to exercise their right to vote, and how to build community connections and raise awareness of disability issues. So why is voting important, and how does it fit into your life? So there are many positions that we vote on. Some get more attention than others. So we vote for the United States President. This year, we'll be voting for a United States Senator here in Pennsylvania, as well as a governor. We vote for United States representatives and senators, representatives every 2 years, senators every 6. And then at the state level, we do reps every 2 years and state senators every 4 years. Some elections, like I said, get more attention than others, but there are the national races, the statewide races, but there's also races in your local communities that really matter too. Things like mayors of local towns, county commissioners, school board members. These are all positions that the public votes on, depending on where you're living. And each of these positions has influence over things like budget and priorities for the municipality or the county that you live in, decisions about school and education and policy for your school district. And then sometimes there's ballot questions as well that can be placed on the ballot, and voters get to decide if that issue should be put into place or explored as well. And so all together, these can influence every aspect of your life, and it's really, really important to get engaged. So let's start with who is eligible to register to vote. So in Pennsylvania, you have to be a United States citizen for at least 1 month before the election. You have to be a resident of your election district or your precinct for at least 30 days before the next election. And you have to be at least 18 years old on or before the day of the next election. So if your birthday is really close to an election, the day before, you can still register and vote because you will indeed be 18 by that election day. So how do you register to vote? First, if you're not sure, you think maybe I registered in the past and I can't remember, you can check to see your voter registration status on the Department of State website. There's a link here, register to vote, check your voter registration status. You can go there, put in your information, and it will indeed tell you whether you are a registered voter. If you know you're not, or you find out that you're not a registered voter, the voter registration deadline is 15 days before the next election. So for this November 8th election, the voter registration deadline is October 24th. That is your last chance to register to vote. You can register to vote online. There's a link there for an online form using the Department of State's website. You can print out an application and send it in the mail, or there are a number of agencies that you're able to register to vote at. Of particular interest for the disability community, when you're doing your driver's license registration or getting your driver's license or your non-driver photo ID, you can register to vote. That's commonly known as the motor voter law. And then many offices that provide public assistance and services to people with disabilities also offer the opportunity to register to vote. So when you're interacting with your county assistance office, county MHID office, you could register to vote there as well. So how do we vote in Pennsylvania? It's been a few years now, but we do have two primary methods of voting, and we'll talk about them both. The first of which is voting by mail, and then also voting in person. So let's start with mail-in voting. So as of 2019, when the state passed what is commonly referred to as Act 77, everyone is now eligible to vote by mail. Before that, it doesn't matter so much anymore. You could only vote absentee, and you had to provide some documentation. We'll talk about that in a bit. But now everyone is eligible to vote by mail. You don't need a reason. All voters can vote by mail, but you have to apply. So first you register, and then if you want to vote by mail, you have to request and apply for a mail-in ballot. And you do that using the PA Voter Services site. You can also do that in person at your county election office, or you can call your county election office, ask for a paper application, send it in the mail that way as well. Another important deadline. If you want to vote by mail, you have to ask for and request a mail-in ballot by 5 p.m. on November 1st. That is the deadline for requesting mail-in ballots. That being said, that's a mere 1 week away from Election Day, and we would really suggest that people who are thinking that they might want to vote by mail to request your mail-in ballot now, so that you get it in plenty of time and you can decide whether you actually choose to vote by mail. And we'll talk about in a bit what to do if you change your mind. But it's really, really important not to wait and to ask for your ballot now. I was at a meeting the past few days and some people already said, hey, I already voted, because they've received and completed their mail-in ballots already. So does Pennsylvania have early voting, and what is it if we do? And the answer is yes. So in Pennsylvania, early voting is not like in other states. So we don't have physical in-person early voting with polling places open on the weekends or in a week advance of the election. But what we do have is the ability for voters to go to their county election office to apply for, receive, and complete their mail-in ballot all in one stop. And that's what Pennsylvania refers to as early voting. So if you want to do this, you can take your mail-in ballot application to your county election office, hand it over to the staff, tell them that you want your ballot, they'll give it to you. You can stand there and complete your ballot and then hand it in. And that's all in one stop. then you don't have to worry about making sure that it gets there in time. You don't have to worry about how you're going to drop it off or arranging other transportation. So that is an option. I think one thing to note here that's really, really important is to make sure that you know when your county election office is open, if there's a satellite office. So typically the county election offices are in the county, wherever the other county services are, most oftentimes in the county courthouse, but some counties do have satellite offices that are located in other kind of county buildings, but that aren't in the county seat, what's commonly referred to. So you can check and find that information on your County Board of Election website. And it is an option to do that one-stop receiving, completing, and returning of your mail-in ballot. So let's talk about some accommodations and common questions around voting by mail for the disability community. So one question that comes up a lot is, what do I do if I need assistance marking my paper mail-in ballot? Pennsylvania law says that assistance is only available when a voter's need for assistance is indicated on their voter registration card. So going back to voter registration, when you register to vote, there is a box that you can check that says that you are a voter who needs assistance, and that will be maintained in your polling book when you go to your polling location and in the elections records within your county. But it's okay if you don't do that. So not everyone does that. Not everyone needs assistance maybe when they're initially registering to vote, but needs emerge over time. So if you don't complete that, you can still document your need for assistance in writing. So you want to identify your disability, specify what election you're voting in, who is helping you. You both sign the document and enclose that piece of paper in the outer envelope. Don't put it in the inner secrecy envelope. The only thing that goes in the inner secrecy envelope for a mail-in ballot is the mail-in ballot. So there's two envelopes. You put the ballot in the secrecy envelope, and then any documentation can go in that outside outer envelope where the secrecy envelope is placed into. Another option is to request the accessible electronic ballot marking. So this is an option that's available to voters with disabilities as well. If you need to request it, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but it is referred to as the OmniBallot here in Pennsylvania. It is an electronic system that allows a voter with a disability to complete their ballot electronically using this online system. You do have to apply for it, just like when you're applying for the mail-in ballot. You can find information on the Votes PA website. The one big caveat here is, even though you can complete the ballot online and do that privately and independently, you do still need to print the ballot out once it's completed, and then you do still need to mail it back to your county, which is an issue for people with visual impairments because they may need assistance in putting it into the secrecy envelope and the outer envelope. There is not electronic return of these accessible electronic ballots. So I just wanted to note that as well. But that is another option that's available if you need assistance marking your ballot and you would like to maintain that privacy and independence. So another commonly asked question is on the return envelope, the outer mailing envelope, it does require you to sign the back of the outer envelope. If you are a voter with a disability and you can't sign the declaration due to your disability, you can receive assistance to make a mark. If you do receive assistance, you have to have a witness sign below the second declaration and just provide their address. So again, you are entitled to that accommodation. You can have assistance. You just need to have it witnessed with the address of whoever the witness is. Again, don't sign that inner secrecy envelope. You're going to keep hearing me refer back to that. You're only signing the outside mailing envelope. The only thing that goes in that inner secrecy envelope is the ballot, and there should be no marks on it. So what do you do if you're not able to return your mail-in ballot? There is an option. It's called a designated agent. So if you are a voter with a disability, you can designate someone to help you with any piece of the voting by mail process. You can do that by completing a form that's available on the Department of State website. There's an English form, a Spanish form, and now they just recently translated a Chinese PDF form as well. So we'll make sure that that information is shared. So once you designate an agent, you complete that form, it allows someone to return your vote by mail application, to submit your vote by mail application, to pick up your mail-in ballot for you, or to drop off your mail-in ballot for you. You complete the form, you should keep a copy, and your agent should bring the completed form with them anytime that they are acting on your behalf in the mail-in voting process. When you're returning your ballot, again, don't put the designated agent form inside the secrecy envelope. It should be included inside the outer mailing envelope. And who can be a designated agent? Anyone can be a designated agent. The one rule is that one person cannot assist multiple voters. So it's 1-to-1. So I can help one person, or one person can help me, unless you are living in the same household. One agent can serve as the agent for multiple voters who reside in the same household. Department of State's guidance does not necessarily contemplate the ways in which people with disabilities might be residing in the community. So the one thing it does say is that long-term care facilities do not count as households unless a married couple is residing in the same room, and then one agent can serve as an agent for both those spouses. But it's otherwise it's kind of unclear. And so our advice to the community has been, this commonly comes up in group homes, to just out of an abundance of caution, continue with the 1-to-1, have one agent for one individual, just to be safe. We have a note here that some counties might not be familiar with designated agents. I think that was more the case in 2020, 2021. I think that there's been, Disability Rights Pennsylvania has tried to do a lot of engagement with the counties to make sure that they have this information available on their county websites, and to make sure that they are aware that this is an accommodation for people with disabilities, and to be sharing that information. So I think it's gotten a little better, but I'm sure that there is still work to do. But if you or anyone in your life were to run into issues, or somebody had questions about the concept of a designated agent, you can reach out to Disability Rights Pennsylvania. Oh, sorry, this looks like a breakdown of a little bit of some of the information on the prior slide. So let's go to voting in person. So to vote in person, we recommend that people get ready now. Find out where your polling site is. You can look it up on the PA Voter Services website. You can, when you check your registration, it will tell you where you're registered to vote as well. If when you check, the address listed isn't your current address, you can vote at the polling place listed on the website where you are currently registered, or you can go to the polling place for your current address and vote using a provisional ballot. And then they would go and verify your address after the election. And it would just, until they're able to verify that information, it would be a provisional ballot. You can also find polling locations using the PA voter website. And one big issue that comes up, not just in Pennsylvania, but unfortunately across the country, is polling place accessibility. So even though it is 2022, there are still accessibility barriers at polling locations. Not every polling place has all of the accessible features needed. One thing that we often see is issues with ramps. We've had individuals call where there is a ramp at the polling location, but there's a door at the top of the ramp and the staff did not unlock the door at the top of the ramp. So the ramp is not usable until that door is unlocked. You can check your County Board of Elections websites and the state's accessible voting page that has information about polling place accessibility on it. I would raise one flag though. You might want to call and verify. You can contact your County Board of Elections to ask, because I think sometimes information has not always been up to date. So you do want to just make sure that it is accessible. And if you have a question, you can certainly ask your County Board of Elections. If you arrive at a polling site and it is inaccessible or there is a barrier, you can ask for the judge of elections at that site. They should be able to help resolve the issue. Temporary, you could get a portable ramp, and there are other ways that they can address accessibility. If the judge of elections is not available, you can also contact your County Board of Elections. You can contact Disability Rights Pennsylvania as well. I would say, I think we regularly are in communication with counties, like that ramp issue I mentioned, where we're able to just get them to resolve the issue so that the voter doesn't have to come back later and is ultimately able to vote while they are on site at the polling location. So another commonly asked question, particularly when voting in person, is, do I need to show identification? And the answer is maybe. So most voters do not need to show ID in order to vote. Pennsylvania law only requires that you show identification if it's your first time voting, so you just registered and this is your first election, or it's your first time voting at a new polling location. Valid photo IDs include a driver's license or a PennDOT non-driver's photo ID. You can use a passport. And then there are a number of non-photo identifications that if they include your name and address, it is an acceptable form of identification. So this could include things like your voter registration card is an acceptable form of ID. Utility bills, bank statements, paychecks, and other government checks also count as acceptable identification. So let's talk about accommodations when voting in person and issues that can arise when voting in person at your polling place. So just like when you're voting by mail, you might need assistance in marking your ballot at the polls. So again, if you're a voter who needs assistance and you didn't check that box when you were registering to vote, the voter needs to fill out a declaration. There's a link to that form there. And then you can have assistance provided. There's the only rules around assistance are it can be provided by anyone. And you can feel free to bring someone of your choosing. So if you have someone that you trust and would like to help you, you can bring them along to your polling place with you. The only people who can't help you are the judge of elections, an agent or representative of your employer, or an agent or representative of your union if you are a union member. Don't be afraid to tell poll workers if you need assistance. You are entitled to that as a person with a disability. They should be prepared and trained for that. The Department of State has guidance on accommodations for voters with disabilities, and we also regularly talk with the counties about these issues. So don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to say what you need, and also feel free to bring someone that you trust to assist you if you would like assistance. If you're a voter with a service animals, election officials have a duty under the Americans with Disabilities Act to provide accommodations to voters. And for voters with service animals, their service animal gets to come into their polling location. Service animals are an extension of the person with a disability. They are specifically trained to provide supports to the person. And so they get to go with the individual wherever that person needs to go. And that extends to polling locations as well. So a common question, and I hinted to this earlier. So what if you applied for a mail-in ballot and you changed your mind and you want to vote in person? Are you able to do so? And the answer is yes. So here is how that works. If you've requested and received a mail-in ballot, and you decide, I want to go vote in person instead, you need to show up to your regular polling location with your mail-in ballot and the envelopes, so both the secrecy and the mailing envelope. You don't have to have it completed, but you do want to hand over all of those things, the ballot, the secrecy envelope, and the mailing envelope, over to poll workers, and they will do what's called spoil it. So they will mark it. It will be marked as not completed or not used. And then you're able to go vote just as if you never asked for that mail-in ballot. So you'll just go vote in person just as if you had never asked for it. Now, because of the mail issues, because maybe you waited and you didn't receive your mail-in ballot prior to election day, you can go to your polling location and vote provisionally. So again, that is an option that's available. You would just go to so you can go to your polling site and say, I'd like to vote provisionally. I didn't receive my mail-in ballot. They will allow you to complete a provisional ballot. And then after the election, they will look just to make sure that your mail-in ballot wasn't returned. And then you're voting provisionally. So only one of those ballots will count. So if their mail-in ballot wasn't received by the 8 p.m. deadline on election day, your provisional ballot would count. If indeed your mail-in ballot was received prior to the deadline, that would count, and then they would not count your provisional ballot. But it is an option that you can still go to your polling place and ask for. So other issues that do arise is sometimes you'll get to your polling site and someone will look in the book, their electronic books some places now too, and say that you're not registered at this site. You can again vote provisionally in that instance and ask for a provisional ballot and still exercise your right to vote. If you're not provided a provisional ballot for some reason, you can ask to speak to the judge of elections, who should help to resolve the issue. You can call Disability Rights Pennsylvania. There's also, we'll be participating with election protection this year. So that number is 1-866-OUR-VOTE. They are available all day on election day and in the lead up to election day as well. And you can also ask for help from another poll worker. One other very common issue that arises is that the accessible voting machines may not be working properly. So under the Help America Vote Act, every polling location is required to have an accessible voting machine. The accessible voting machine is often in my precinct, it has a sign on it that says ADA machine. It's available for all voters. You don't have to be a person with a disability, but it is required to be available for people with disabilities. So it has accessible features on it. It should have auditory output, the screen reading technology and those types of things. Sometimes they're not working properly. And if that issue arises, you use the same steps. You let a poll worker know, hey, something's not working here. They should work to address the issue. You can also raise the issue with the judge of elections, and you can contact Disability Rights Pennsylvania or Election Protection for any issues if they're not able to get that working, or if there seems to be a bigger problem and they can't resolve it in a timely way. So let me stop there because that's a lot of information. We're going to talk about voting plans next, but let me just see if there's questions about voting by mail or in person.
So I do have one question. Know someone that just moved here from out of state and registered and got their voter registration in the mail, but their ID they haven't renewed yet, so it's still an out of state ID. Being that it's their first time voting at the polling place, I'm wondering what they could use. Would a social security card work?
They could use their voter registration card.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they would be able to use that. It has to have your name and address on it, so that's the big thing. But yeah, you could use the utility bill. You can use your voter registration card as well, and those would be acceptable forms of ID.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think I have a question. So with the provisional ballot, is there any difference than the ballot that all the other voters are using? Does it look different, or is it counted different, or?
It is counted differently. So they are the same essentially as traditional ballots, but they kind of get set aside and counted because there needs to be those verification steps taken afterwards. So they are, I don't want to say segregated, but they are kept separate while that work after the election is undertaken to verify whether the provisional ballot is the one that counts, or if a mail-in ballot was received and they don't need the provisional and that type of thing. Or if for some reason the person wasn't really an eligible voter and the provisional ballot shouldn't count at all, those types of things. So, but otherwise, same ballot, just different process after the election.
Okay, good to know.
Mm-hmm. So voting plans are really important. As you can see, there are things that can happen. We all make plans in our lives, and sometimes things don't go according to plan because that's just life, right? So creating a voter plan is really important. So again, you want to check your voter registration. You want to get registered if you are not registered. And then think about how you want to vote. Do you want to vote by mail? Do you feel like it's really important to go vote in person? Do you like going and seeing your neighbors and people that you know? Do you not want to see your neighbors and people that you know and just kind of do it in the privacy of your own home? Those are decisions that you have to make and think about how you want to vote. And then think about how you might need assistance with voting. Are there tasks related to voting that you need help with? Is transportation really difficult and you want to designate someone to go pick up your mail-in ballot and return it for you? Who is that person? Who do you feel comfortable having assist you in voting? You want to write down how and when you'll receive the help. So think about how you want to be assisted. And then if for some reason your plans don't work out, what is your backup plan? So you're planning to vote by mail, but your ballot doesn't come in time. Who's going to take you to the polls on election day? When do you want to go? And where do you need to go? And those types of things. If the person that is your first preference to assist you isn't available because they get sick or something comes up in their life and they're not able to assist you, who is your backup person that would be able to assist you in the way that you want to be assisted and that you feel comfortable and it's someone that you trust? So those are all really, really important things to think through so that you make sure that you're able to go exercise your right to vote. And then another important piece of voting is educating yourself about the candidates and who is up for election. And some ways to do that are to look at a candidate's voting record. So if they've held other offices before, if your town mayor is now running for state representative, or your state representative is now running for United States representative, so on and so forth. look at how they voted and discussed issues that matter to you in the previous offices that they've held. You can look at their websites as well. Many of them have policy platforms about things that matter to them as a candidate and what they believe in. And you can use their websites to read and understand what matters to them. Obviously, you can also look in interviews in your local papers, national ones as well, and see what they're talking about, what again matters to them, how they're talking about things, and if that it feels like something that's comfortable and what you agree with as well. Many of us talk with our family and our friends as well. People do that all the time. You're kind of learning from each other, hearing of opposing viewpoints sometimes, hearing other perspectives. And it's a good way to help you become more fully informed about what you actually think and what you believe and who aligns with your thoughts and beliefs. I think it's really important for the disability community to share experiences. So if something is difficult or you feel like an issue is really important and policymakers need to be talking about that, share your experiences with the people in your life that you feel safe with sharing them. And it's an opportunity to educate and to help them understand why something matters and how they should look at it differently. I think it's really important. And I think I think people with disabilities do this, but it is important in the context to tie it to elections and why policy decisions and how policy decisions can impact the community as well, and to get people kind of engaged in that way around elections, because there's a whole lot of decisions and rules and regulations that get made, and you want those to be inclusive and thoughtful, and positively impacting the community. And so once you've done all these things, it's really, you can make a checklist about what you feel like is important to you. Look at the resources that you found and see what candidate shares your ideas, shares your beliefs, shares what you think is important in policy and law. And make an informed decision about who you feel like is the best person in your view to vote for. And then for election day, and then the lead up to, there are, I mentioned it several times, the Votes PA website. That is the Department of State website with voter information. They actually also have an accessible voting tab on there as well with some information on voting access for the disability community. The PA Voter Services website is where you can register to vote, request your mail-in ballot, and check your voter registration status. And then Disability Rights Pennsylvania has an Election 2022 site on our website with a number of voting resources available as well. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I know I will definitely be checking out those links and resources, because I'm still deciding who I'm voting on. There's a lot on the ballot this year.
Yeah, there is, and I think it's always important to get engaged and be educated. I know my kids will say to me, like, there's all these ads, and I say, well, no, you need to go and look at other sources, because it's, it's important, and that can tell you a lot about a candidate and can help you flesh out what you think.
Definitely. I think too, you made the point earlier about checking if your polling place is accessible. And I think that is a huge thing, especially I know with my polling location, it was pretty accessible. It was a little tight, but it was accessible before the pandemic. Well, then they made changes and now it's not accessible. And so they're, towing that line. They're trying to find that balance of how do we socially distance, but be accessible. Because we used to go in this very cramped little basement space that had a ramp, but they moved us upstairs to the sanctuary that has this itty bitty little 2-inch lip. So I'm like,
Yeah. Get that portable ramp, like,
yeah.
right? Yeah, that's relatively low cost, and you can order it on Amazon and it'll be here. But yeah, I mean, they need to know that. Mhm.
Yeah, and it was like one of those things I didn't think about. They're like, it's fine, it's more space, and it's great. I do love it because now we have tables to sit down and vote instead of standing. And I'm like, this is nice. I'm like, but it's not working for everybody, so we got to get this working, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you hit on all of the questions that I had from pre-submitted things. I think, oh, there was one. I'm sorry. So, am I allowed to bring a list of candidates that I looked at to paper that I hand wrote into the polling booth?
Oh, that is a good question that I don't know that I don't want to misspeak. So let me
Okay.
see if I can get the answer to that, and I'll
Okay.
follow up by email and you can share that out.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Mhm.
There's always a question here and there that stump people. They even stump me sometimes. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
never thought of that.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm thinking of it from an accessibility accommodation perspective, but poll workers don't always think in that way. So guidance is important. So let me check and I will follow up with you, Catherine.
All right. Thank you so much, Jen.
Yep.
All right. Well, again, yeah, thank you for being with us and for sharing all that information. And I will make sure we link all of those resources in our YouTube recording for people. Before the election, DRP always puts up their hotline number. So we'll make sure we share that on social media so that's accessible to everybody on election day. You don't have to go hunting for it. Just come to LVCIL's Twitter page and Facebook page and it'll be there. All right. Well, thank you and have a great weekend.